boat's awful rolly. But I'd like to get it north. We're trying to set for crab, not for weather. So they're just going to have to hang on.
The sea has pushed Captain Sig Hansen to his limits many times. He has survived powerful storms, deadly accidents, and serious health problems that almost took his life. But now, a shocking story claims his journey has finally come to an end. Is Sig Hansen really facing a life sentence, or is this just another rumor spreading online? Fans are confused and want to know the truth. What really happened to one of the most famous captains in Deadliest Catch? Join us in this video as we reveal the detail. Deadliest Catch Sig Hansen sentenced to life. For many people, Sig Hansen looked like a man who could never be stopped. For years, fans watched him stand at the wheel of the Northwestern as huge waves crashed against the boat. He stayed calm while others panicked. He gave orders with confidence, and his crew trusted him with their lives. It seemed like nothing could bring him down, but away from the television cameras, life slowly became much harder than anyone expected. The biggest danger was no longer the freezing waters of the Bering Sea. It was his own health. In 2016, while working another crab fishing season, Sig suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest. At first, he refused to believe anything was wrong. Like he had done many times before, he tried to push through the pain and continue working. His crew noticed something was wrong, but Sig kept saying he was fine. Soon, doctors discovered he was having a heart attack caused by a blocked artery. He had to be flown from the Northwestern to a hospital in Anchorage, Alaska, for emergency treatment. Fans who watched the episode later were shocked. The captain, who always looked fearless, was suddenly fighting for his life. Many believed this would finally convince him to slow down. He accepted treatment, but he refused to let the sea go. Less than 2 years later, another serious health problem appeared. What started as a simple sinus infection became something much worse. After taking antibiotics, Sig reportedly suffered a severe allergic reaction that triggered another heart attack. This time, the situation was even more dangerous. Medical staff later told him that he had come frighteningly close to losing his life. Doctors kept him under close observation before allowing him to return to work. The second heart attack became a turning point. Sig admitted that it forced him to think about the choices he had made over the years. One of the biggest changes was quitting smoking. For years, viewers had seen him smoking while working aboard the Northwestern. After surviving 2 heart attacks, he finally decided it was time to stop. Even with this change, retirement was still not something he could accept. He openly admitted that fishing had become part of who he was. Walking away from the sea felt impossible. His health was not the only challenge he faced. In 2017, Sig became involved in an incident after a family celebration in Seattle. According to reports, an argument began during an Uber ride after confusion over the trip. Police said the disagreement became heated. Sig was later arrested and charged following the incident. He eventually pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault, completed court-ordered requirements, and later settled a related civil lawsuit privately. The incident surprised many fans because it was very different from the calm and controlled captain they were used to seeing on television. Around the same period, Sig also faced a civil lawsuit filed by his estranged biological daughter. She made serious allegations that he strongly denied. Earlier court proceedings had found no mistreatment, no criminal charges were filed, and the later civil dispute ended without a verdict against him. The case remained a painful chapter in his personal life, but Sig continued to deny the allegations throughout. Even after dealing with health problems and legal issues, life continued to test him. While filming a later season of Deadliest Catch, Sig suddenly collapsed aboard the Northwestern. Many feared he had suffered another heart attack. Doctors later determined that he was suffering from severe exhaustion. Years of long working hours, freezing temperatures, little sleep, and the pressure of leading a crew had finally caught up with him. Medical professionals advised him to retire, or at least spend much less time working at sea. Fans immediately began asking whether this would finally be the end of his career. Many believed his daughter, Mandy Hansen, was ready to take over the family boat. Instead of announcing his retirement, Sig surprised everyone once again. After recovering, he returned to the Northwestern and continued leading his crew. He admitted that even if someone else became captain, his mind would still be out on the water every single day. The sea had shaped his entire life, and leaving it behind was a decision he simply could not make. Yet long before the television cameras found him, Sig Hansen had already spent years building the reputation that made him one of the most respected captains on the Bering Sea. How did Sig Hansen become one of the most respected captains on the Bering Sea in the first place? Let's delve deeper. Sig Hansen, becoming one of the Bering Sea's greatest captains. For millions of people knew his name from Deadliest Catch, Sig Hansen was already living the life of a fisherman. Fishing was not something he chose later in life. It was part of his family long before he was born. His father and grandfather spent their lives working on the cold waters of Alaska and reportedly helped build the family's strong name in the crab fishing business. Growing up, Sig watched them work hard every season. He learned very early that fishing was not an easy way to make a living. Every trip brought danger. Strong winds, freezing temperatures, giant waves, and heavy equipment could turn a normal day into a life-or-death situation. Even so, he wanted to follow the same path. By the age of 14, Sig was already working aboard the family boat. While many teenagers were enjoying school holidays with friends, he was learning how to pull heavy crab pots, repair equipment, follow weather reports, and listen carefully to experienced fishermen. Every season taught him something new. He learned that success on the Bering Sea did not come from being the strongest person on the boat. It came from making good decisions, staying alert, and keeping the crew safe. Those lessons stayed with him as he grew older. By the time he was 22 years old, Sig had already earned enough trust to take charge whenever another captain needed help. Just 2 years later, he officially became captain of Northwestern. That made him one of the youngest captains in the fleet. It was a huge responsibility because the lives of every crew member now depended on the decisions he made every day. According to reports, Sig quickly built a reputation as a captain who expected discipline from everyone on board. He believed every job had to be done properly, because one mistake at sea could cost someone their life. Crew members often described him as strict, demanding, and sometimes difficult to please, but they also knew he wanted everyone to return home safely. Over the years, that careful approach earned him respect throughout the fishing industry. Northwestern also developed an impressive safety record. During Sig Hansen's years as captain, the boat reportedly never lost a crew member at sea. In one of the world's most dangerous jobs, that became one of his greatest achievements. His success was not limited to safety alone. The Northwestern became one of the strongest boats in the crab fleet, regularly bringing home successful catches during king crab and opilio crab seasons. Then everything changed in 2005 when Deadliest Catch first aired on television. The Discovery Channel introduced viewers to the dangerous world of crab fishing in Alaska, and Sig Hansen quickly became one of the show's biggest stars. People admired the way he stayed calm during violent storms and made difficult decisions under pressure. They saw a captain who rarely showed fear, even when giant waves crashed across the deck. His quiet confidence made him one of the most recognizable faces on the program. As his popularity grew, opportunities outside fishing also appeared. He made television appearances beyond Deadliest Catch, and even lent his voice to a character in a Pixar film. Even with his growing fame, Sig never tried to leave the fishing industry behind. Every television appearance eventually led him back to Northwestern, because that remained the place where he felt most comfortable. Fame never replaced the life he had built on the sea. Although the fishing industry brought him success, it also demanded a heavy price. Years of working long hours in freezing weather placed enormous pressure on his body. After surviving 2 heart attacks, many people expected him to retire for good. Instead, he returned to work because he believed the Northwestern was more than just a fishing boat. Rather than walking away completely, Sig began sharing more of his knowledge with younger fishermen. He understood that experience on the Bering Sea cannot be learned from books alone. It comes from years of facing storms, making difficult choices, and learning from mistakes. Today, Sig Hansen's story is about much more than television fame. It is the story of a man who spent most of his life chasing one of the world's toughest jobs. He has faced dangerous seas, survived serious health problems, endured personal and legal challenges, and continued returning to the wheelhouse when many believed his career was over. Whether he eventually decides to hand full control of the Northwestern to Mandy or continues leading the boat himself, his place in the history of Deadliest Catch and the Bering Sea has already been secured. His journey shows that while storms may test a captain, determination and years of experience can leave behind a legacy that lasts for generations. After surviving heart attacks, family struggles, and public scandals, what happened when one ordinary day at sea turned into one of the most terrifying moments of Sig Hansen's entire life? Let's find out. The day everything changed. Family, fear, and survival at sea. For many people, Sig Hansen is known as one of the toughest captains to ever sail the Bering Sea. They see a strong man who gives orders, faces huge storms, and keeps moving no matter what stands in his way. But behind that strong image is a life filled with fear, painful moments, and close calls that could have ended in tragedy. His life has never been only about catching crabs. It has also been about carrying the heavy responsibility of bringing every crew member home alive. Every trip begins with hope, but nobody knows how it will end. That is the reality Sig has lived with for many years. Even after spending most of his life on the sea, he knows that experience cannot remove danger. The ocean can change without warning, and a normal day can suddenly become a fight for survival. There have been many moments that proved this to him. One of the most emotional happened while he was already carrying another heavy burden in his heart. His daughter, Mandy, was dealing with problems during her pregnancy. Instead of enjoying a peaceful time with his family, Sig had to leave for another fishing trip while worrying about what was happening back home. The situation stayed on his mind every single day. Because of that, he changed his normal fishing plans. Rather than traveling farther away into the usual fishing grounds, he decided to stay closer to shore. He wanted to be able to return faster if his family needed him. It showed that family had become more important than taking bigger risks for a better catch. Even though he made that careful decision, danger still found him. While the crew was carrying out a normal job on deck, everything changed within seconds. His son-in-law, Clark, suddenly lost his footing and fell into the freezing waters of the Bering Sea. There was no warning. 1 second he was working with everyone else, and the next he had disappeared into the icy water. The crew immediately shouted that someone had gone overboard. Sig reacted without wasting a second. He quickly turned the boat around while the crew threw a life ring into the sea. Every person on board knew that time was running out. The water was so cold that even a strong person could lose strength very quickly. Everyone worked together as fast as they could. They managed to reach Clark, secure him with rescue equipment, and pull him safely back onto the boat. But the danger was not over. His wet clothes had to come off immediately. He was rushed into a warm shower, wrapped in blankets, and carefully warmed up to stop his body temperature from falling any further. Thankfully, the rescue worked and Clark survived the terrifying accident. Even after everything was over, Sig could not hide how deeply the experience affected him. He admitted that seeing a family member fall into the sea was one of the hardest moments of his life. He had spent years facing storms, giant waves, equipment failures, and many dangerous situations, but this felt different. It was no longer just about protecting a crew member. It was about protecting someone he loved like family. He later explained that when family members work together on the same boat, every emergency becomes much more painful because the fear is personal. The accident also reminded him that nobody can prepare for everything. A captain can plan every move, train the crew, and follow every safety rule, but one small mistake can still change everything. Clark later explained that he simply slipped while working. Another crew member reached out to grab him, but everything happened too fast. Nobody had enough time to stop the fall. It was another reminder that even the most experienced fishermen can find themselves in danger during what should have been an ordinary job. As the family tried to recover from the shock of the rescue, another emotional moment arrived. Mandy received the results from her medical tests. Doctors told her she had a condition called a subchorionic hemorrhage, which had caused bleeding during her pregnancy. Even though the news sounded frightening, they also explained that the baby was safe. She was told to rest, avoid stress, and allow her body to heal. Hearing those words brought a huge sense of relief to Sig and the rest of the family. After everything that had happened, knowing that both Mandy and the baby were safe lifted a heavy weight from their hearts. Looking back, moments like these explain why Sig Hansen's life has never been ordinary. His story is not only about catching crab or leading one of the most successful boats on the Bering Sea. It is also a story of fear, courage, family, and survival. But surviving the deadly waters was only part of the story. What heartbreaking losses and personal tragedies changed the lives of the Deadliest Catch crew forever? Stay tuned for more. The untold tragedies and hardships behind Deadliest Catch. For many people, Deadliest Catch is more than a show about catching crab. It is a story about real people who risk their lives every time they sail into the cold waters of the Bering Sea. Behind every catch are men and women who face freezing weather, huge waves, heavy equipment, and dangers that can change their lives forever. Some have survived terrible accidents. Others have lost their lives. Many have also faced personal struggles away from the sea. Nick McGlashan was one of the crew members fans loved the most. He came from a fishing family and started working on boats when he was young. Over the years, he became a trusted leader because he worked hard and treated people with kindness. He always stayed calm, even during difficult moments. Sadly, his life ended suddenly at just 33 years old. His death shocked everyone and reminded people that life can change without warning. Todd Kochutin also gave everything to the job he loved. He was known as a hard-working fisherman who never backed away from danger. But one day, a heavy piece of crab gear fell on him while he was working. The accident took his life at only 30 years old. His story shows how even one small mistake or equipment failure can become deadly on a fishing boat. Edgar Hansen spent many years helping run Northwestern. He trained new crew members, repaired equipment, and helped keep everyone safe. He earned respect because he stayed calm when problems happened. Later, his time on television came to an end after legal problems, and many fans felt the boat was never quite the same without him. Josh Harris carried the weight of his father, Captain Phil Harris's legacy after his father's death. He worked hard to keep the family name alive, but the pressure became very heavy. His television career later ended after past legal issues became public. Jake Anderson also fought through many painful moments in his life. After losing family members and dealing with personal struggles, he continued working until serious health problems forced him to slow down. He recovered and returned stronger, showing that giving up was never an option for him. Captain Sig Hansen has spent many years leading the Northwestern through some of the worst storms in the world. Even after suffering serious heart attacks, he refused to let them end his career. He returned to the sea because fishing is part of who he is. Andy Hillstrand also spent decades battling dangerous seas before deciding that his health and family needed to come first. Years of hard work had taken a toll on his body, and he chose to step away. Mandy Hansen has also shown that strength is not only about working on deck. She fought through personal heartbreak while proving she could succeed in a job where many people doubted her. She continued moving forward with courage and determination. These stories show that life on the Bering Sea is never easy. Every trip can bring danger, loss, heartbreak, or another chance to survive. What do you think about the tragic experiences of Sig Hansen? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as we explored the lives and tragedies of the Deadliest Catch crew. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and click the next video for more amazing stories. See you there.